I'll, oh,
Did you want me to bring up the some of the emails?
we have to enable sharing.
I'll give you a minute.
So we have to enable screen sharing.
Oh, okay, good thing. No struggle working to do this. Okay, well, one thing I'm doing, I'm gonna make you co-host. You should be able to share your screen now. See if I can switch it on.
Yep.
It always make it so difficult to find meetings. Okay, who can do that? Who can do that? Right, anybody could be able to share now. Alright, so Paul, it says that you're sharing your screen. I can see it. Okay.
Change your
my screen. Okay.
change your resolution unless my icons all over the place. You guys want me to put this on, or I'll just try and stay in this corner?
You find out.
I don't want to be thinking. No worries.
I'm going to show your screen. So, yeah, you're sharing the screen then.
Nope, that's right. Okay. Okay, so just a few upcoming things. Are we doing okay sound wise?
Yep, it's clear for me.
So tomorrow night, Jim McKeith is giving the last one was pretty lightning quick, really, especially for Jim, who is capable of much talking. He did a webinar a few weeks back on G experts, and he's doing one on a fast MM. I think it only lasted about 45 minutes or so, but maybe he started late. Thursday, they're doing a kind of release webinar on Delphi 12.2. The Melbourne AGM will be third Monday in October, and my calendar won't come up. So that's the 21st.
October 1st. Yeah.
21st of October, I'm pretty sure, and then Graham Grieve will be giving a presentation. He's always a good talker.
Has the all the voting stuff been wrapped up? Did they close this?
This one?
Yes, it's. Are they closed the submission time for people nominated for positions?
No, I think it's up to 2 weeks before the AGM. The AGM got pushed down by a month because there've been issues with the previous treasurer getting the info across to the current treasurer this year.
Who's the new treasurer?
Officially it's Matthias.
Okay.
German guy, Matthias.
Right, and I think it was Frank.
Frank Malcolm before that.
Was the previous treasurer for quite a few years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think people end up having some.
And the anonymous?
Yeah.
Sorry, wait on that one.
Right, yeah, thank you.
Oh, good, enjoy it.
Family issues and that sort of thing. So anyway.
Do you know how they're looking for committee positions? Have they got enough for national committee?
Well, Sue is leaving, which would be
Canberra.
a huge pillar of the community, the committee. And she was secretary, and no, maybe she was vice president, and Jason Tully is not going to be on the committee again. He was secretary. So
So do we know who's nominating for president for the next room? Does anyone put the hand up?
Jeff, I guess.
Jeff's good, Jeff's staying, yeah.
And I think Matthias is good to go for being remaining treasurer if we get the whole. There was all this dealing with bank issues because, like, getting two people from different cities, somehow they've got to turn up together to a bank in person. It's like, what are we, 1910?
We had the same problem when I was leaving as treasurer for the Swedish club. We had the same problem. At least we were in the same city, but yeah, the banks were not easy to work with. It took a while.
And when you do a handover from like one committee to the next,
Yeah,
they want the old people and the new ones to know. It was like, I was in the committee once, was like, well, these people, they've left, they're not in the state anymore. And they go, well, we can't do the paperwork. But we go, but they're not on the committee anymore. They're not a legal member of this body.
yeah, but then it proves it all.
Actually, part of the thing that has helped, like the bank sort of, you might say, inefficiency that has helped is that people who've been like signatories to the account and stuff in the past
Can still
are
start.
still on there.
Right.
So this guy couldn't arrange something new, but it just happened that he'd already been on there years ago. And it still counts.
The bank still lets them.
Oh my God. So it's been a bit of a
Hey,
mess.
I thought for the Jim Keith thing, is that easy to find? So like, you know, is that live on YouTube or how's it broadcast?
Oh, yeah, if you go to YouTube, you'll,
Is it just on the Embarcadero?
yep,
I'm
definitely.
just doing a quick look at that for YouTube, please. So the one about, no, I don't know if it shows scheduled things on here though. Yeah, so I think what we need to do is, track down a link to that and send out an email to everyone.
Yeah.
I can't, just for a quick look, I can't see a thing.
If you put on live, if you go to the live,
Okay, go to, so you go to YouTube, Embarcadero Technologies. We're thinking find out the live. Actually, all the recorded ones.
they do pop up beforehand, and then when you like, oh, that's on, and you click on it, it says notify me when it's happening. But I'll find the link to that.
I'm pretty sure I've got everyone's emails here, but I'm pretty sure I've got yours, just in case. Everyone just put their address in the chat if you want to do that, or send it to me directly. .knowledge@gmail.com, and I'll just make sure to send the email to you with.
And David Millington has been doing some blog posts on a Copilot like function with Delphi,
Is that AI related or Microsoft Copilot?
like, yeah, AI related code suggestions and that sort of thing. And he's going to talk to us next month. Now that's sort of stuff.
Did you say David Millington's talking at the next meeting?
Yeah,
Do you know what topic he's talking on?
about his project,
Okay.
About-
For instance, I'll say from this plan.
you know. So I put Let me have a look. Yeah. Okay. I presented a video at the Delphi Dev Days thing, which was stressful. On the idea of these coroutines, if anyone has heard of those before. And the whole thing was 10 days and I don't know, maybe must be more than 20 videos, I'm sure. And
Was it one stream at a time, or were they running multiple?
yeah, they did 3 or 4 on a.
Right.
So
Although
you presented that already, or you're preparing for a presentation?
I know that was a couple of weeks ago now, maybe.
But I can see that was yours, was it?
Yeah. If it's not redundant, I could talk about a couple of little things that are kind of interesting about it. But the content there was really good, I thought, because, you know, in the past, a lot of it's been a bit, I don't know, enterprisey, or anyway, there was a really good mix, I thought, of different topics there. They're all listed down in the ADUG forum. And I think I have links in there for, because they came out as the entire day, you know, immediately.
Oh, you mean those 2 weeks that were on the presentation? Yeah.
Each day is on there as like 5 hours or whatever. But now they've broken them up into the ratio. I mean, they broke up the first 10 or first 5 days worth super fast. And they're working on the other ones.
Are they available for free? Those presentations, are they available to stream online?
Yeah. They're on YouTube. Yeah. There's a link there for the Delphi 12.2.
Do we have any idea what they're going to be presenting in that?
I think I heard it a little unofficially that someone felt it was a bit more C++ than Delphi, which I guess maybe could.
And that's kind of a lot of pressure with something with AI, ChatGPT, or, you know, I mean, AI is the big hot topic right now. And I'm sure they're under pressure to do something then, whether they will or not. We'll see.
With AI, though, wouldn't that be an interface to something that's online? Wouldn't expect your phone to be doing much of that heavy parallel computing. Or was that actually done on the phone? So AI computation, because
No, what I was thinking is, I mean, the AI topic is massive. I mean, just one little area is a Delphi program that connects to ChatGPT, but there's also a lot of other similar AIs out there. And there's also a move towards running AIs on the local machine. It's very slow right now. I mean, think of ChatGPT
or something like that, which is it's something like that actually is a parallel. It's designed specifically for you.
So most likely, we're not going to see much about running an AI locally on a Windows machine in a couple of years, but it's gradually coming in. So I think they're trying to bring out new computer chips specifically focused on AI.
Those are ones.
And I think they call them neural chips, are they? Something like that.
I don't think it's maybe it's an NPU. I can't remember, but it is definitely.
So it sounds like it's going to be a new category of chip.
Yeah.
And until we get that, running an AI is possible, but you're going to do a lot of waiting.
Yeah.
So I heard a guy that was running a local AI, and it was like a clone of ChatGPT, and the language models are made public as well. But he said things where it takes a split second online, it's like you can wait hours.
Yeah.
right? It's just trawling through a massive amount of data. So it's not really viable to run a useful AI on a laptop right now, but it's just a matter of time. And the other thing is AI is improving at a rate of about doubling in capabilities every 6 months.
All right, so that sounds like three times the exponent of Moore's law.
Now that's mainly the capability of the big, the hosted AI like ChatGPT.
Yeah,
But I expect the AI focused computer chips will probably go through a similar progression because it's a new category of chip.
yeah.
So it's not like they're on the curve where they're like 20 years down the track and they only improve it, 30, 50% a year. It's, I think more like doubling every 6 months.
Yeah, from what I read, I think those chips, the way they work is that they have, it's basically a matrix. It has a whole series of inputs on one axis, and then outputs on another axis. And then at each junction, you have a waveform, something like that. When the data comes in and it comes out, and we don't have to calculate each junction individually, even threaded, that would take extremely slow. It's just zoop, zoop, down.
Incredibly complex. I had spoke to a guy at work that said he doesn't trust any AI because he said all it's doing is it's calculating what is the next best word to use, and it just keeps doing that.
Yeah.
And I said,
Yeah.
I don't know if that's true or not, but even if it is, it really doesn't matter. I'm using ChatGPT all the time, and it's generating quality information and reasonably quality code. It's not perfect, but there's been some, I'll occasionally go to it like, I just want to write a string manipulation function, but it's a bit messy. I just describe it and it generates pretty close to it, then I clean up the rest. And there's been some other things that have been much more complex. What it generates tends not to even work. Like you try and compile it, it doesn't work. But it gets you a good step along the way. So it's a good starting.
That's in Visual Studio now. And when I code in C#, it just guesses. So I start typing, goes, yeah, I think you want to write this, and it's in gray. Let's go, yep, that looks good. Tap, boom. And then I think I want to write this. Yeah, that's about right. Tap. So I don't even have to type it out. Yeah, but then it guesses something. No, that's not what I want. I correct that. But it just speeds up the typing. Effectively, that's all it does. It can't give the final code because it doesn't know what it is.
I've also found just recently that, and I mainly use ChatGPT. ChatGPT's gotten better at remembering past conversations, and even in the same conversation, it used to lose its track of thought pretty quickly. But what I'm finding now is it can generate some code. I'll give it some instructions, but then I can say, actually change my instructions. I want you to do this differently, and it's able to build on what it had done in the same chat over the last hour.
The other day, on Friday evening, I met up with a friend of mine who he does, he's a job agent, that's actually not what we named. I was supposed to be his client, but we ended up being friends instead. And he used it to then make kind of like a client's resume sort of presentation thing. But he's trained his own ChatGPT instance. So it's got to the point where he says, I've got this person, I want this, make it into an art presentation, and it does it with his personal language, the way he would actually say things, because he's trained it, which I found was quite impressive. So, yeah. Yes, if an NPU is a neural network processing unit.
Right. Yeah, I'm hearing they're going to start coming out with PCs.
And then you've got a TPU, is a tensor processing unit, which is developed by Google specifically for accelerating machine learning tasks. So
machine learning is
both used.
Different from AI though. But yeah, like AI it's a very broad topic. It covers a lot of areas.
But yeah, NPU is designed for accelerating AI applications, and TPU is for machine learning.
Machine learning is more about, you've got a pile of data about your business, and then you just kind of want some software to like just look at all of it and then tell you its insights that it comes up with.
Right.
And the ones I've seen so far, the insights are pretty random, but it's in its infancy. But basically, its focus is it's a reporting tool. Its goal is to trawl through data and then generate, charts and reports and data dumps.
Which is what I thought ChatGPT did, so I've just learned they're two separate kind of things.
yeah.
Two separate beasts.
Well, the thing with language there, when we go to Vietnam, we got Korean, Vietnamese, English, three things.
You translate.
Yeah, and one or the other, you have to be careful. No, it gets about 60% there, and then after that, if I will do it properly.
Yeah.
Just the way you work it out.
So we're just trying to steer back towards Paul, because we've got a bit off the topic there, so where are we at, Paul?
I just thought. Right, seems pretty good to you. Here's the Delphi Dev Days. Maybe we should. Oh, okay. So writing in the guy that joined us last month, Tim Coates, who's been doing the YouTube videos. I think started off the whole thing writing an NT service, which I've actually meant to go back and listen to again. Richard Hatherall is a English guy and does a lot with AWS and authorization and that sort of thing, and he's always good, a good talk. Jim McKeith there, using Clang, that's a C++ one. I should leave Delphi 7, so probably already agree on that. Font Creator, this presentation on Font Creator was awesome. And the guy is from, I think, Brazil, and is interested to talk to us at some stage later. He was a bit busy recently, but it was like, with fonts and turning them into the curves with all the nodes, and then
the vector graphics.
yeah, transforming them, and like it was really good, the Gen AI, Jim McKeith working with colors, TMS, VCL and web. Conrad Vermeulen is another guy. I think he's Dutch but living in England, and he's really good. That template engine is for like sort of like producing websites or producing website content, or I don't know, a lot of things. But he's also, together with creating the library, he also had an IDE plugin, whatever you call it, to like test out the code in the IDE somehow. He's presented to the UK meeting about that, and it also works out time-wise for them to present to us. But he's interested as a possibility. TTI, SVG. Patrick Premerton is a prolific online. He does Twitch coding, and he's a French guy, does Twitch coding in Delphi, and YouTube videos and all sorts of
Which code? What's Twitch code?
oh no, he does twitch.tv, the streaming service.
Yeah.
So
Oh, he does that.
he does live coding. Yeah, live coding
Right. Okay.
in French, I guess. But he also had that one called Make Games in Delphi. That was in English, obviously, not French for the, in this case. GitHub and logging and the skier and exceptions, and like I haven't seen this much variety really in a bunch of Delphi talks before.
What sort of timeframe, when are they on?
I think they started at like 11 PM, no, 7. Maybe it's 11 PM our time. And they went for about 5 hours or something.
That'll be about midday Europe.
I'm feeling to do a university course now or a sort of TAFE course to catch up with this sort of stuff. That's how it feels. There's so much new stuff that I haven't kept up with. Like, I mean, it's new stuff. It's like I got good at what I'm hearing. But there's also new stuff that I haven't learned. And it's a bit overwhelming.
Yeah, but I don't think you'd have that much trouble. Like in 2018, when you were presenting about, objects and BMTs, I was asking you, I know we've used classes, can we create our own? I asked you, can we create our own? You went,
Fair enough,
yes,
but-
Paul, we can.
Yeah,
And that was
these are big chapters.
I use speed playbacks. I watch a lot of videos, but even movies, but I play them back at 20 to 50% faster.
Yeah.
And and it's like, but you actually pick it up pretty well.
Yes.
And it also helps when they have subcaptions switched on. So I can, you take a 1 hour presentation, you can cut out the waffle at the beginning and the end,
Mhm.
speak through it and, get through it like 20 minutes.
There's a guy, kind of a little bit get back to it, called Connor Hoekstra, who's a C++ guy, works for NVIDIA now, was doing C++ presentations at CBPCon, started the book club that I got involved with online when COVID came along, all that sort of thing. And that guy's like infamous for, said he started with like 1.1, 1.2, like cranking up the speed that he listens to like all these ridiculous number of podcasts. and like, at the time I was thinking like, that's not appreciating. That's just like, it's like, it's like industrial level filtering,
I watch a lot of 1950s movies, but they're very slow paced compared to what we used to today. So I crack those up as well.
So yeah, there's a lot here, and
So what was your favorite 2 or 3 topics?
well, the font creator one I thought was really great.
That's absolutely good. Yes, there's a correcting of Paul McGee. Yes. Because that was actually one of the few I was particularly interested in.
It had to be published as "What the heck are they?"
Yeah.
for American sensibilities.
Oh, shock.
Ian said it's like, it's ridiculous, but we're going to have to make that "What the heck are they?" But yeah, I mean, but the like connecting with like Orange County, Delphi. Jim McKeith is going on. Jim McKeith stopped working for Embarcadero, and then he was doing something along like what do you call it? A money, electronic money, Bitcoin, crypto type thing, but it didn't last. It was over very shortly. And then GDK, who's a big Netherlands and worldwide Delphi people. Now he's like their US guy, and he's currently going around like doing meetings to different like states and stuff. So I've been to the Orange County meetings several times, but apparently there's a Chicago one that's coming up.
Yeah. Not
online, it's an in-person thing. And we've got the UK people. There's obviously stuff going on in Italy and Brazil, and like Facebook, you sort of see a bit of everything. And I think these days we can really see like things bubbling along, not like, if we're in our little silos, and if you only had ADUG and didn't have any outside influences, it seemed like, grandpa going down to the shops
Yeah.
again, you know, and yeah, I think there's a lot of really good,
Stuff up there.
yeah, things going on.
Sure, there's an online route there.
Um, and I'm pointing down the bottom here that creating 3D games and applications using Castle Game Engine.
Yeah,
I think Scott V. Did he say he wasn't that keen on the Castle Game Engine?
possibly. I'm not particularly, like, when I was talking about making a game engine to teach OO, that kind of defeats the purpose, because the point is
Yeah.
not to teach, not a game engine, that's not the point.
The design.
It's the architectural, it's all that.
Yeah.
I don't
Um,
know what Scott thinks of that.
so yeah, so that's the first email I sent out. There's a bunch of things there. I just throw in this right now. The Windows. I said Windows V. It's supposed to be Windows space. No, Windows. Sorry. Full stop. Which I know is the emoji window. Maybe I should have changed my resolution from 4K.
Okay. How did you get that?
Windows key and full stop.
Oh, cool. So you're saying this is part of Windows or?
Yeah, it's like you can do, you know, Windows R for run and Windows C and W and different
I
things.
didn't know even those, but yeah, wow, okay. I suppose it makes sense that the Windows key will be used for things, so yeah, I just didn't know.
So yeah, Windows dot, and I knew I could go here for emojis, and you know, you got the different types of families of
Yeah,
emojis and stuff, and you've got the I don't know if you guys online can see that, but it's the shrug, which is awesome. But I didn't realize that there are even more of these, like,
right.
crazy.
You know, if you have a number pad and you need to have a number pad, then you can hold down the left Alt key, and then on the number pad you type in the
Oh yeah,
UTF
40
code, or yeah, 40 code, then you get that character. Although I have a virtual number pad on my laptop, so it doesn't.
So I think it must have been the symbols, the third one here, the symbols that I hadn't particularly like looked at before. It's got all the little because normally I bring up if I want some weird, you know, like a degree sign or pound or something, I go to character map. You guys know.
Yeah, that's right. That's what I normally use.
I've had this with Delphi where if you paste in some of these funky characters, Delphi will then convert the entire file to a multi-byte character. So instead of being 1 byte per character, now it's multiple. So then if you're doing any kind of like change comparison, every byte is different.
That's a dumb. It should just stick to
I think-
UTF-8, and then you only have that one character becomes 2 bytes.
Yeah.
That'd be nicer.
I think it does I think it does change to UTF-8.
Yeah, but what Scott's saying is it seems to change to a 16 or something like that.
For the whole file,
Yeah, is that so?
not just the one character, it's like the whole file.
Yeah,
Because pass files are like text files. There's no
that's
multi-byte
right.
changing.
They're effectively UTF-8, effectively,
Yeah.
even though they used to be like.
But yeah, other things as well. I've tried with like I use Notepad++ a lot. You know, the similar thing happens. You put in one character and
I don't know what happens with the reading. Like when you go, yeah. Anyway, okay.
and then you often find it looks like one editor, but then you look at another editor and
Yeah.
it comes out as like 2 separate characters instead of one.
Hmm.
All over the place.
There was a I bumped into a Stack Overflow page that mentioned, you know, the absolute keyword. So if you can declare a variable in Pascal that's, you know, going to take up whatever type it is, it's going to take up this memory address, but you can declare another variable which will coincide on top of the same memory address, which is, I guess, kind of
That's a bit like having a struct, but where you have a case statement inside the struct declaration. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like a variable record.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and on that page was, so there's one example where, well, there was this example. So you got letter of type wide car and a different code point of type, like a numeric type, and they both occupy the same memory address. And so you can access them either way.
I could see it being useful for like overlaying an array. So you've got like a string, and I mean strings you can always access as an array anyway, but that's kind of what I'm thinking.
That's neat. I know. I didn't know you could do that. That's neat.
There was another example that I didn't post because we don't really do that anymore, but you know, a function that had a function declared inside it.
Yeah, nested functions.
And then they, what's a good word for it? Aliased the result type, the result of the outside function, so they can refer to it in the inside function.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
maybe we should encourage that.
Well, it depends. I mean, those internal. I remember when I was at uni, my C features said nested functions. If you have that, you're doing something wrong. It should be a private method or something like that. And I disagree entirely. I find them very handy. I do them with C# as well, nested functions. So I mean, I think Pascal was very ahead of the time that you could do that. It makes sense, you know, if you're going to do the same thing repeatedly, but it only matters within the scope of that function, make it nested. I mean, that's what it's for. It works. You can optimize it too.
I know I used to do that, like when I was like before 2000 at least, like it was familiar, something that I did. It was at some stage that I finally read something and went, oh, maybe I shouldn't.
No, I don't have a problem with it at all. And I think it also, and considering a language like C# has introduced that in recent years, I think, and they're still improving on it.
Really?
So they're so a few versions ago you couldn't make them static. Now you can make them static, which means that the nested function mustn't use any variables within its outside its encompassing function, but so therefore can be static. In other words, it doesn't belong. But then at the same time, the compiler can optimize that. So Delphi has it, I'd say.
The second example was actually I've been talking on
Use that, but only once.
Talking online actually with Conrad Vermeulen, although if you say it in Dutch, it doesn't sound anything like that. We were sort of talking about this example, not this example, about we were talking about changes to the language, and he wanted to do something like this, more automatic, where you don't have to like, so you've got a procedure and it takes a sender, and the sender is just T object, not just T button. But then you every time you're going to use it, once you've checked you've got a T button, you're going to cast it to a T button every single time.
Yeah.
And
I recognize that I have done something like that. I just forgot it exists. But that's actually very, I mean, that works, right? I don't see a problem with that. Is that correct?
yeah, I believe it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It just gives you a
Yeah.
Well, think
Although because there the absolute is referring to sender, which is a variable, not the type of sender, but yeah. But I think Delphi's compiler's clever enough to understand.
With the sideline coming down, they're using Java a lot of the time there for their programming. And that's the problem because there'll be and things like that. They got all this new ones that oh yes, there. So they instead you realise what's going on to it with Airbus and the Russians and a lot of others, Delphi and a few other things. The old type know exactly what's going on every time. That's the thing. You have to do that. You have to think right on in case total emergency of what goes on and see what and to see it. And the thing is too that any program to look at it and understand it. That's well, you can't do around too much. So that's a really thing.
You mean like having a garbage collector?
That's right. The Delphi is really on that. You know exactly what's going on with it. But Java and a few of these others, they're doing up in Boeing there, and all their bloody things are going in the sky.
Yeah,
That's
so that's
what it
right.
is.
So the planes need to have, I mean, they're more secure almost than military software because they don't want planes cut
That's
you out.
right.
So with Boeing, it has to be legible, it has to be reliable, is what you're saying.
Well, not. The new 777 and the space on those, your Java and stuff like that. And
They're using Java for those,
Yeah.
right? Because it's safe, because it can't function.
Yeah, you realise what the hell?
Well,
That's what they do to us.
I've heard, I don't know in what settings that like for a lot of aeronautical usage, the program, up to a certain point, programs can do what they want, but then they're not allowed to allocate heap memory from a particular point onwards, like maybe when you start to taxi or something.
Yeah, but at what point do you know? So this is one of the things with COBOL and natural. Natural is an offshoot of COBOL. There was no heap. You only had your so-called global variables, what we in Delphi would call global variables, and you had them in one big massive struct or record, and you would have the sort of, talking about just now when you have the case statements inside, so you could have these 2 bytes could be as like, for example, a classic example would be the decade and the single digit year, and then whether it was a 2-digit year or a 4-digit year, you would use 2 or 4 bytes, but then that could be superimposed with others, much like you're talking about right here in this on what's on the screen. And because of that, when a program started, when a COBOL program started, it allocated that amount of memory. That was it, fixed, and there was no allocation, so there were no access violations. You couldn't, because you referred to a variable, it existed. Everything was just pre-allocated as a program started up. So that's why the banks and the like used them, because they were in that sense crash safe, and they didn't have objects until much later on.
So they have all the memory allocation all over the place and deallocating.
Sorry?
So it didn't have all the memory allocating and deallocating all over the place. So
Precisely, didn't exist.
a simple architecture, but
But
limited, but it didn't break.
exactly.
Yeah. So you decide that names are going to be 30 characters maximum.
Yeah, and that's where from, for example, Delphi uses the term record instead of struct, is because that's what they were. You loaded in from tables. The name field was 30 characters. The family name, the personal name may have been 15 characters, and so on. The age was such and such, and then you had a fixed length, and that number of bytes was the size of a database record.
Yeah.
And you read them sequentially.
Or seek to
Well, see,
sync to I minus
Yeah.
one, read record.
Then we'll just take that length multiplied by the number of jump aheads. And you just read that through that many bytes, skip them, and then read what you wanted.
That's exactly how this works.
Yeah. Those box.
No. Ow. Wow, that's fun.
It's because you're on battery.
Oh. Oh. That doesn't help. Yeah, this is our 1993 program we use every single day.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's impressive.
And yeah, all the records were exactly like when I mucked around with this.
It looks like, I think I know the guy that wrote this.
Neil Goody.
Neil Goody. Yeah, he's a good friend of mine. Yeah.
He did this and then he went into the helicopter.
Yeah, he wrote, so they built some technology, like they put a big boom nose in front of the phone. And then they fly really bad at detect going in, whatever.
Yeah, and it had less noise than and more resolution than a
It's still running.
I mean,
So how does that work now? Does he still maintain it? Or you?
no, he hasn't done it for years.
Has
he
he
gave-
gave someone else?
No, our industry is just this big, so there's been basically pretty much one software at any particular time that was any good. And his was good for a long time, but then your Windows versions sort of came along, and he gave me the source code at some stage, just like knock yourself out,
Yeah,
change
right.
stuff.
He wrote this in Turbo Pascal version 3 originally. So that'll be Turbo Pascal.
Turbo Pascal, yeah. Anyway, sidetracked. But yeah, whenever I wanted to,
Oh, I'm telling you, but make it
Oh,
easier.
hey.
Oh, I got it. I was wondering, who I bring catch one in what he did.
You're lit, Mark. We're lost.
I didn't afford
We're
it.
lost.
There's someone sitting here on
There's one out the cable, we've got power cables and video running across the room there.
Awesome.
So,
it.
no, that's what the cable was.
Was this your stuff, you think?
Yeah, artificial.
all right, greetings, John.
Reasons. You doesn't answer the phone. Because your mailbox is.
Oh, you're doing the meeting, I had to cancel it.
Yeah, well, so what are we discussing? Well, how are we discussing?
Everything.
Oh, a bit of random grab bag. Paul's has been good at taking notes as he goes along each month, and he's got a bunch of stuff to talk about. What was the hotkey for that? The emoji thing, wasn't it?
Windows and full stop.
I'm just going to try that in wording. So, what is it? Windows on?
Windows key full stop.
Windows equal. Full stop. Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Right. Windows equal full stop. All right.
Charles has got this. Charles was a team lead across.
Did you want to do your point stuff?
Oh, yeah, that's not, I've got that map to my Zoom key. So, you have to change the mapping now. Okay.
Scott? Did you want to talk about your
What was I gonna talk about?
oh, Dadland and GeForce now?
Talk about that. It's gonna get a bit closer to the microphone. Got that over there. Okay, so I'm just gonna say a few words about Dadland and Geoforce now, two totally different topics. So let me see if I can share my screen. Okay, share my screen.
Our generation will play like everyone.
Okay, Dadland.au. This is a gaming group that is basically bringing back the old LAN party. So if you go back roughly 15 years ago, 20 years ago, people started to get together, maybe say 10 or so people would get together in someone's house and they would play games like Doom, you know, running around and shooting people.
Like 5 years ago.
Yeah, 15 to 20,
25.
25 at a stretch, maybe, yeah.
Well, no, we didn't.
But they started with like a local network. So they'd have a table like we've got here, you know, a dozen people, a little, probably not even a router back then because, what was it? It's not a router, it's like a hub. Yeah, so it's like everything broadcast to everybody. And they would just play games. And then it got bigger and bigger. I went to one in Perth that had, I reckon, close to 500 people. So it was a large gymnasium that had, I think it was about 3 basketball courts, might have been 4, tables on the whole thing, and like standing room only. It was just, 500 people. And they were just 500 people just playing games.
CRT monitors.
Because I remember it would have been probably the mid-90s. Was someone had a business just south of Fremantle, which is now built up. At the time, it was, barrels with the footland owners. And we go down there, about 10 of us. We played some like All Twisted Humans or something like that.
Yeah. So there used to be quite a lot of
I don't know if I want to go to see the
gaming
something.
businesses. So like in Perth, they would have a couple of these, a business that would have maybe a dozen PCs and people could go in there that have games already loaded on the PC. They could play network games. A lot of it was because people's home internet was crappy slow. It's not a dial-up modem.
We didn't have it.
And these businesses were probably running an ISDN line, which is about 128K maybe. Anyway, LAN's coming back. So Dadland is a group of basically geeky nerds like us that like to play computer games. And it's also specifically about trying to reach out to adult males that have felt like they've lost touch with their friends over the years and they struggle to make new friends. You know, when you're 50 years old, it's like, where have my friends gone? A bunch of them died, a bunch of them moved offshore. You try and reach out to your old friends and you find out that, oh no, they've got things on, they're not interested in getting back together. So yeah, so it's basically it's like meeting two purposes. It's getting together people that like just playing computer games, and specifically aiming at middle-aged men. Their sort of target audience is maybe 40 plus up to whatever, 60, 70. But anyone is invited. So I'm trying to get my son into it. He's in Kalgoorlie. You might try and get one fired up then. He's not in their target age group, but it's open to anyone. They'll have teenagers turning up. So yeah, they're getting the gang back together again, or a new gang with new people that you never met before. So
Sounds a bit like a men's shed for nerds.
it is, yeah, men's shed for nerds. That's a good description. Yeah. The other thing is they mainly play old games, like 20 years old. Quake, Doom, Team Fortress. The thing about those games is back then you needed like a heavy graphics card to run them, but now they run off your phone or a wristwatch. So people don't have to turn up with the latest and greatest PC. Any old laptop will run them fine. If you have a laptop that's 5 years old, it'll easily run these. So it's Dadland. They're starting up in each city. So there's like a dozen different cities that are in now. The Perth one's going strong. They've got a meeting actually this Sunday. You need to, if you're interested, you need to go to the website, sign up. It's free. You can donate because they're renting the room. So if you want to donate money, you can do that. But it's not mandatory. And yeah, there's one on this this Sunday. I think it's 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. or something like that. And they're aiming to hold them at least once a month. So yeah, should be lots of fun. So that is Dadland, and it's in other cities as well for the guys here that are in different cities. No, the Perth one is running once a month on a Sunday. I suspect that they're trying to make all of the Dadlands around Australia meet at the same date and time, because that way they can play each other across the country.
Sunday.
Yeah. So yeah, interesting group. I'm going to go to the one on this Sunday, and it seems to be growing. So what I suggest you, if you're interested, is get signed up, get on the email list, because at some point they might go, okay, this is too big, we're going to have to restrict numbers. So I think you want to get in there early. So anyway, yes, that's Dadland. I'm going to go this Sunday. The other thing that I was going to talk about was, what did it say? What was that other topic?
GeForce Now.
T-Force Now? Or GeForce Now?
GeForce.
Video.
T-Force Now video. Okay.
Next I see Dave Dushy.
GeForce Now, that'll be it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So who is that? Oh, Dave.
Oh,
Yeah. Hey, Dave.
So what's he up to this day?
What are you up to, Dave?
Oh, it's nice.
We'll get back to this later. Okay. Now I've got to refresh my memory. What the heck is GeForce Now? Oh, right. Okay. So on the gaming front, so if you want to play the latest and great, I said that with this Dadland, you can have an old PC or an old laptop and it would run these old games just fine. But going on a different route, if you want to play the latest and greatest games with all the graphics turned up on full and super fancy looking graphics, you've got to spend a lot of money on a high powered PC to make that happen. And you've got to keep doing that every year. It's going to get out of date. The games next year won't play the ones from this year. So you've got to keep updating. It costs a lot of money. This GeForce Now, what they do is they basically let you run a virtual PC in the cloud. So they are hosting a PC at their end. You connect to it. I don't know how you do that. It might be through a web browser. It might be through some software. But basically, it lets you play the games, but using their PC. Right? Now, they do charge a bit. It's not super expensive. I for the life of me, I can't remember what the pricing is, but I've been told it's not hugely expensive. And I think, though, you'd probably want to have a fiber optic connection. Either fiber to the curb or fiber to the house, because it's, this is basically running games that are going to put a lot of graphics on the screen, updating frequently. Imagine you've got fire on the screen, all of that data's got to come down. So yeah, GeForce Now is just a way of running games in the cloud. It does cost money, but it's probably a lot cheaper than all the money you have to plow into your own PC if you wanted to have a gaming PC and keep it up to date. So yeah, very interesting approach. It's had mixed feedback. Some people say, oh, it's terrific. Others say, oh, it's crappy slow, it takes forever, or it's crashing. I suspect it pretty much comes down to if you've got a fast internet connection, you're okay. If you're on something older.
Those games take so little resources, they just run them on VMs.
Yeah.
And then you connect up, you play. And if someone's really, really quick, maybe their reflexes are that a little bit fast, they can notice the lag or something, but that will explain what it would install on your own PC.
Yeah. I've noticed a big improvement now. I've got fiber optic to the premise, so it's inside the house. Man, the internet is so much faster than it used to be. So I'm getting typically I can download at, I think it's about 900 meg per second. Now you divide that by 8 because they're talking megabits, but even so, it's lightning fast. And the other thing is the ping time is a lot lower than it used to be. So if we used to play someone on, sitting in America, it's across the world, the response time would cause problems when you're trying to play games. They've got a split second advantage over you.
Point of information is that
Yeah.
I've just been reading about a thing called Li-Fi. Which can download, six normal CDs and one CD.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I think the fiber optic cables that we're now getting in Perth can actually go a lot faster, but they're dialing down the speed because they want to make sure that everybody can get it. But from what I'm hearing, the ISPs aren't capping people anymore like they used to, because they can just fit so much more data on a fiber optic line. They don't need to cap people's connections.
Well, I get 100 megabit per second on my phone, on my mobile phone. At best, my home internet is capped at 25. It's actually 28.5.
But yeah, but if you pay for the higher connection,
It's just whatever.
yeah, so I pay about $100 a month and unlimited data, unlimited speed, never capped. So basically, I think the ISPs can, basically you're not sharing a line with the rest of the neighborhood. So if you've got a fiber optic line, it goes all the way to the node. You're not sharing it with everybody else on your street.
Yeah,
I used to find that
get that with a new house, like other than an old one, a couple of cables to the building and stuff. Other than actually shut off.
no, it's not. So it's not just new suburbs anymore. So I'm living in an old suburb. The house is about 30 years old. So I just kept an eye on. There's a website government website where it lists if you can get on NBN with fiber. And it did say, look, once you sign up on the website, it would notify you when it was available. Well, that didn't happen. I had to just every day check every day. Have I got it? Have I got it? Have I got it? And as soon as it said it's in your area, I'm like, right, call up my ISP.
So they've
Say,
I
hey,
think they put fiber optic years ago around in my street, but my complex attaches to the fiber optic using copper cable. I think that's
So even if it was fiber,
it hasn't gone to the house. It has to go all the way to the house, otherwise it's this
Right.
that one.
it's even if it was just going into one entry point and then it was sharing it for the whole apartment, it's probably still a lot faster than than going through cable or whatever.
Yeah, that's true.
But the thing is, you need to look on the NBN site, and you just put in your address that tells you if it's available or not. And as soon as you see it's available, just call your ISP. They'll work out how they're going to do the cabling. They might end up having a cable running all the way into your house.
Yeah.
Right. So with ours, we thought, look, our house is 30 years old. We don't even know where the phone line is, right? So I believe there is like a small pipe that goes from, there's like a box at the front of our place, and it goes, and we have no idea where that pipe goes. We've never been told. No one's got any plans. The people that turned up were supposed to have all the Telstra data and whatever, but they said they have no clue, right? Like when these lines are put in, they never thought people were going to be upgraded. They just laid it down and walked away. So I was thinking, oh yeah, they're going to like dig a new trench to be able to work this out. But what they did is they fed a line. So we've got this entry point at the front of that premise that's shared amongst a whole bunch of houses. So they, it's like a concrete slab, right? So they pull it up. There's a line that goes from there. Now they don't know where that line goes, but what they did is they've got kind of, so with like a stiff bit of metal that was bendy, and then they fed that through. But then they're going, well, the problem is we still don't know where it comes out at the other end. So then they're wandering all over the house trying to work it out. What they ended up doing was they had a guy down at the pit. He's banging on it with a hammer or something. And then they go, okay, and they're wandering around the house going, okay, where is it coming from?
Oh, the high tech.
And
Plastic. Oh,
and then they ended up finding there was like a pipe that popped up in our garage. And they eventually found that, and then they fed that through. So even an apartment, basically it's their problem to sort out. You just call them up and say, hey, I want fiber.
Okay, you do.
Yeah, they work it out. And they did try and kind of screw me around a bit. They were like, okay, so we're going to put, so they're saying your office desk in the house is like here, the garage is here. So we're just going to like put it right here, it's gonna be perfect for you, you're gonna get the best speed, and I'm like, no. It's gonna cover the whole house.
Yeah.
And they're going, no, but it'll be okay. I'm like, no. I want this in the middle of the house, in the pantry. And they were really trying to talk me out of it, and I just stuck to my guns.
No, because
And-
otherwise it's on the one
and
hand,
they
that
will-
will not be on you good another, and it has to be in the middle. Yes.
So I had another friend that told me this, that yeah, you stick to your guns, you tell them where you want it, and they will end up putting it there. They might push back a bit, but
Well, yeah, they
yeah,
are.
you just tell them, look, I need coverage on the whole property, I need it for work, I've got my router, I've got like we've got a super fancy network in the house, and all the routers and things are in the pantry.
Right.
So I just said, that's where it's gotta go, but then they're like, oh, but we gotta go up on the roof. It's
So
like,
you keep your food
Yeah.
in the pantry, keeping it sterile.
yeah. So they were complaining, oh, we're gonna go up on the roof and it might fall through the roof, and I'm like, God, that's,
No.
I'll leave it. You pay the big bucks. to
Oh,
make
that's
that happen.
wrong, so there are rafters and all that stuff.
But like I say, you might find that even though you're an apartment complex, you can still get into your house.
Yeah.
Basically, wherever the phone line comes through, it will
Yeah.
just come through that. They just
Yeah.
somehow feed it through.
Or I know where you, for me like that, there's a pillar in the middle of the house that have to go through there, I was to work.
And if they end up having to cut through some slabs or feed it through the roof or whatever,
That's a tip.
that's their problem. That's,
I think some rodents chip some holes through to the neighbor's roof cavity, because it's a townhouse, so maybe they could just use that.
yeah. So they end up running a pipe, popped out here in the garage, a pipe up here into the roof. They went up on the roof, they fed it along there. And yes, it's brilliant, but yeah, you've got to really drive the process, and
Yeah.
if you leave it to them, they'll basically do the fastest possible solution.
Fastest minimal effort.
Yeah,
Basically,
yeah.
minimum viable product, like, minimum viable service.
Yeah. But basically, the trick is you just keep saying no.
Yeah.
So you don't even need to explain why. You just like, this is where it needs to go.
Okay.
Yeah, you gotta say good cop, bad cop. I live with another guy and he said it has to go there. I'm sorry, I can't do anything. Out of my control. That's where he said you have to put it. So over to you. That's your problem. Anywho, yeah, so GeForce is basically cloud computing, running a gaming PC in the cloud instead of paying big bucks and having the latest and greatest. You need to spend about $5,000 on a high-powered gaming PC. And basically, if you've got fiber optic to your door, it's probably gonna work well. Anything less, and maybe not. So there you go. That's Dadland and GeForce now. I'm ready. We might even get to a point where this is done for Delphi, where you just you connect to a cloud VM that's running Delphi.
Oh, I not have that, because if I buy a Delphi and I can have it installed on a computer, on VM, something like that, I have it. That's right. Yeah, if it's on service, stop paying for the service, stop getting it. That's a problem with Adobe. And when you have that, like, that's why I can't use Adobe, because when I'm unemployed, for example, I'm nothing built before that. Sure.
Yeah, that's my preference as well. I like running Delphi in a virtual machine. Works well for me, but this is a bit of a push right now where companies are offering to run things in the cloud, even development environments. And that way you just connect to it using remote desktop. So when I do remote desktop to my work right now, it's as if I'm sitting in front of the screen, right? The screen, the refresh rate. So I've got, fiber optic.
Yeah, but you've got really good internet, but not everyone does. The other thing.
No, even before that, when I just had broadband, it was running off a shared cable for the whole neighborhood. It was still good enough. It was a tiny bit laggy.
Yeah.
But yeah, now it's like there's no lag at all. And I'm running like 3 big remote screens. No lag at all.
I wonder what military would say about that. For example, the last place I worked at Immersive, key dongle to get to the right floor, and yet use it again to get you get past the doors to get in there, and that's just industry.
You took the mistake.
Anyways,
Yeah. Please keep it up.
thank you.
So we
Yeah.
we went through, with my work, I work in some secure environments, and basically before COVID hit, it was like nobody gets to work at home. Everybody has a PC, not a laptop. And the reason is they don't want people taking a laptop out of the
Sure,
door. But once COVID hit, they had to immediately turn around and go, we need remote desktoping for tens of thousands of people.
sure, we've got remote desktoping and that's very secure, I suppose, but at the same time. They are now knuckling down on security at the moment, so there's, so that. We can't even use whatever tools we choose on the cloud. We can only use tools that are explicitly permitted. Well, because they want to make sure that there is no risk of industrial espionage, basically. And no risk of anyone getting hold of our designs or anything like that.
Sure.
And that's despite the fact that we can work with that, we as in profits, about a month or two ago. But 2 months ago, but they can still work at home like 3 days a week. So.
Yeah, we're locked down, so I can't install anything on my work PC. Even though I've got admin rights, I still can't install anything. I can only install the software that's been pre-approved. It drives me crazy because I've got like 3 or 4 just bits of software that if I'm at home, I use them dozens of times every day, and I can't use them. So it drives me crazy. But
Can you run any of those, what do you call it, portable versions of?
if we plug in a thumb drive, yeah, it's like,
Well,
you know, many balaclavas come breaking through the window, grab me and throw me out the window. Yes, so we don't plug in anything. For a long while, I was like, can I buy a mouse, like a Logitech mouse, and plug it in? And we didn't know. But yeah, it's very, very limited.
Like, do you use Notepad++ on that?
That's one of the allowed programs, so we can use that. That's not a problem. But yeah, any new software, it gets detected. Sometimes I know people that have installed it and it got through, but then a security scan picks it up. And what they then do is they take away your PC and they give it back to you clean, fresh, everything lost, every file gone. So yeah, so that's our experience. But
When they tell you that, you say, oh, it's okay, I've got a backup. What?
well, I learned from the beginning. I make sure that all of my work is actually on a network drive that's part of my team can access. If my PC gets wiped out, I'm okay. I can get back up and running within a day. But yeah, I do know people there that have just been like, oh, something went wrong and my PC disappeared and it came back completely refreshed from scratch. So yeah, you don't have anything locally. But anywho, yeah, it's
These cakes are for anybody,
Oh, thanks. I thought.
and if they don't get eaten, I will be taking them home and I will eat them.
Okay, thanks.
I'll go for that.
I will.
A bit bigger. I can't eat all of it.
That stuff. So what, I can eat the top stuff. I can't eat the top stuff. Yeah, but I can't do this.
I'm gonna break it up a bit.
Yeah, I didn't see that.
Paul, if you want to split that with me.
Very much so.
I didn't specify gluten free or anything like that.
No.
I just took what was.
Yeah, but it's very limited.
Do you want to go first thing?
They put up here, right?
Any canola.
No,
Any canola.
yes.
Oh, no, grab that.
All right, so there's this,
The canola, there in the QE2, that was supposed to go, 1 bit of toast. But down for a day. They kept it in other stuff bed, and knocked me out for 2 days.
Is that only since you had that stroke, or
Yeah,
did you always have that?
it was from that, yeah.
So after the stroke, you're now like allergic to
A
granola.
lot of things, yeah.
oh,
Okay.
Canola.
David's just saying he is leaving. Thanks for coming, Dave. Good to hear from you.
Yeah.
I wish I prepared a little bit better for this, but it's a crazy story. Where? All right, where do you go? Oh yeah, okay. So I mentioned Connor Hoekstra, the guy who's into C++ and lots of different languages. He's always talking about comparing, but he's got this love of A programming, APL, right? Which is, I don't know if anyone's seen examples of it. Let's just try APL examples. Simple examples. But they're all in, so Ken Iverson, I think, was the first maybe Turing Award winner, perhaps. And he first created not a computer language, but he wrote either a book or a paper as notation as a tool of thought. And
Notation as a tool of thought, okay.
so all of these, hang on, I'll zoom in on it. So people use this for like code, you know, like leak code tournaments, that sort of thing, things that you'll have to write 50 lines of Pascal or C or something to do, you know, will get solved in.
So is this like the goal of the language that's the most terse, compact as possible?
Well, it's called an array-based language. So these symbols will be things like, so like the plus. So there's going to be data somewhere called some variable name, and if you put plus in front of it, I guess it would sum it up. Right? If you put plus and two different variables, it would add them together. So if you had, like, I don't know, I'm no expert, but if you had two different like columns from a spreadsheet, it would add them up row wise.
That's Polish or reverse Polish you're referring to, are you? Polish notation or reverse Polish.
I think it's yeah, strictly left to right, other than have a bunch of lines. I already experimented with these when I came down the first time. These are the pre-approved cakes. So yeah, it's crazy these short things that can solve whole problem. And then when the guy starts talking about why he really likes the language, I mean, I'm trying to think.
It's great if you're a mathematician.
It's like some of the symbols, there'll be like a circle with the line through it, which means rotate. Or if you've got a matrix, perhaps it means something of the word.
Transpose or something.
Transpose. And so
That's used a lot of like 3D graphics use a lot of that.
yeah. And
Standard, but yeah.
but this guy has been to China for a little while, and he says like when he says people say about APL that it's like too hard or something. He's like, or I can't remember his exact terminology, but he's saying like you don't talk about Chinese as being, I'm going to get his words wrong, but like too hard is like, it makes sense to the Chinese because they've learned that, right? And these little pictograph things, these Unicode symbols, like they have an actual like visual indication of what they're doing. And so you get these programs that are like 12 characters long that do these enormous like jobs.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So related to that, he mentioned there's a podcast called probably that one, ADSP, that algorithms plus data structures equals programs, which is kind of cool because that was Nicholas Worth's book, but they're really like concentrating on the algorithms part. There's this guy, Arthur Whitney, who's 11 years older than me and started in like Wall Street and that sort of thing, 1992-ish. And he's made this series of languages like K1, K2, K, whatever, 5, 6, 7, and one called Q. And so you end up with this executable that's like 45K long or something that has been sold to another company at one of these stages for like $460,000 in the first tranche, and then I don't know, made up to $1 million a year later or something. And he licenses his language out to these big companies at $1 million a year. And it's an interpreted language. And it's so fast that like they choose, oh, and it looks like this isn't obfuscated, this is the code. I don't know if we can.
Is that a functional language? That looks functional.
No, it's
Because functional languages are fast. I mean, ridiculously fast.
so the, you know how in Pascal we'd have like read and print, and
Yeah.
his functions are A, B, C, D.
You would be better off using Chinese characters in that case,
And
because at least those you can recognize. Oh, that's not a variable name. That's going to be a.
So they have billion row like databases that get manipulated by this sort of thing. And to top off the cream on that sort of thing, after like he sold the K5 or whatever language to this company, like every now and again, every so many years, he deletes everything he has of that language and starts again. God, like if you don't have a copy of it,
Too bad.
too bad. And he starts again, K6, K7, whatever. It's so, I mean, it's nice work if you can get it. There's I clicked out the audio. It was most of one of these episodes of them talking about this guy. The one guy kind of describing it to the other guy just going, how? How? And yeah, like, and apparently it just, and it's not even like multi-threading. Well, it's already.
What you showed there, all those brackets. I mean, I get lost when you got brackets 3, 4 deep sometimes, and you have like multiple, you know, like you go to brackets after brackets and out into brackets next parameter there's a couple of brackets. It's like 3, 4, 5 deep. So no, I only wrote this up.
I get
that there is just insane, right?
I guess he made the point that like the people using this don't care about programming, they just want to make money, and that's all they like care
I'm
about.
wondering also because like there was one guy I worked at in City, if Charles Ruffin met him, but I think he left before Charles came, and he really messed up the code. He checked things in, saying that you know, marked them as if I had approved the code. I said, no, I would never approve that. And he said, look, the thing is, you've got to make yourself unfireable. You've got to make the code so that they can't afford to fire it. So I told my boss, and he was probably fired because No, you want code to be maintainable, and you make it maintainable and simple, and you get rehired. And you get other jobs, and yeah, so, but I'm wondering if that's for that kind of developer, who just got McDonald's upstairs, this, only me, it pro.
Well, I mean, maybe this has been a little, you know, maybe it's not normally this condensed, I don't know. But
No,
anyway, it's just a great story about this guy who writes this thing that's incredibly valuable to these businesses, and then he just wipes out what he's done, starts from scratch, making the new one.
So, okay, what, all right, I was thinking about the now, we could. There was, one of those presentations was about functional programming, but it was functional programming accessed from Delphi, was it? The one with presentations a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, that was Kevin that spoke to us for 5 hours.
Oh, that guy.
Yeah,
Oh, he had put the functional programming. Yeah.
it was maybe a little. I mean, I can't speak. I was going to say maybe a little disorganized, but that's me anyway. So,
Okay.
I was just going to mention the coroutine thing in brief. Just go through like the highlights. So like a function, you know, you're in the main,
yes, it's
you're in the main bit of the program, you go to a function, you do the function, you come back.
Yeah.
So the idea of it, I mean, I just said normal functions that we know from like 1970 and 1980 have been generalized in different ways. And one of these ways, although this stuff is old, it's like 1968 and stuff, is that you go to a function, you do a bit of it, you come out of the function, and then later on, when you jump to back to the function that you started from, it remembers everything from before. Which, if you kind of think about it flipped, if you're in the coroutine column there, it's like you're calling out to somewhere else in a way.
It's more like just saying, oh, okay, I can't get any further. You do what you were doing. I'll can come back to me later.
And things that I didn't mention actually in that talk was that, like, you have a function, you expect to have a return type. So when you drop out the bottom of that, you expect to have a return type. But when you jump out in the middle, it's conceivable to have no return type, or to have a different return type. So there's things called generators, like in Python and C#, I think, that took me a long time to like, they're simple, but it took me forever to tweak onto. It's like you can have a generator that gives you just integers. So one just hands you one, you call it, it hands you one, it hands you two, it hands you three, it hands you four. Or it could be prime numbers, hands you 1 and 2 and 3 and 5 and 7 and 11 and 13, whatever. And like, where does this idea come from? Like, again, I know some about it, but not enough. But it's in all these languages.
Well, I mean, it's yeah. I mean, the only times I can think where it's actually really useful is when you have communication and the packet arrives and you read some of the packet and you get to the end of the stream and but it's not the end of the packet and you're still waiting for more stuff. So rather than sit there holding up the entire program, you just bail out, let the program do some stuff, and hoping you come back later more data. So right.
And you know,
and then you can continue doing.
And you know everything that you knew before when you were dealing with the previous stuff.
So would this be implemented as like some sort of a curative anonymous method, which in Delphi is implemented as an interface object internally, even though we don't look at it like that?
Wait a few minutes.
Oh, sorry, sorry.
So Yeah, it's in all, it's like, it's in C#, it's in
Yeah.
Kotlin, it's in Java and C++ have been going to enormous efforts for like 5 years to add it to their language. So I can't see us ever like having it properly in Delphi, right? Because we don't have nothing, that's never going to happen. 5 years of work for it to become a, you know, a fundamental part of Delphi. So it's just something that's interesting. I guess one thing, so starting up a new thread, this is a logarithmic scale, and that line at the bottom is the cost for starting up a new thread in machine cycles, or maybe just swapping to a new thread. Yeah, just swapping to a new thread. So a function call is like 10 cycles, and the change of threads is like 1,000 or 10,000 to 100,000 cycles, whatever, you know, a lot.
Is this expand?
Yeah.
I can probably do it easier. If you go back to full screen.
Yeah, sorry. Thanks.
So simple register operations. Oh. So those are orders of magnitude.
Oh, that's only zooming in this room, isn't it? Scott, but
Yeah, so they can't see that zoomed in.
yeah, sorry guys. But yeah, I highlighted a few different things there about what the cost of. So the idea is when you start up a thread, it has to have some stack space, and it's like 2 to 5 megabytes or something or other, and a coroutine can have like 50K overhead or something or other. So you might fit 5,000 or 1,000 threads on your machine, not 5,000, but 1 million like coroutines shouldn't be a problem.
But look at how expensive the thread context switches. That's 10 to the 4 to 10 to the 6 times as much as a register. I didn't realize it was that expensive.
I mean, exceptions are also
Insane.
in the same category.
Well, actually, I would have thought the thread context would be, well, I suppose maybe not, but yeah, I mean, exceptions are known to be expensive, but I didn't know thread context, context switches were going to be, I thought they'd been optimized, heavily optimized, because they're so frequent.
And this is on a log scale as well, so
Log scale.
Yeah,
even bigger than what it looks.
that's 10, and then, so if you, actually, if you blow up, then you can have that clearer, right?
Scott will do it.
Yeah, no, but
Oh, well, we should probably move on. We've got to be out of here at 8:30. So, I just mentioned in passing, I can give you the PDF, no problem. And this is some Java, I think it was, and some operations on. So the big long bar there is for, you know, operating system threads, and the little tiny bars at the bottom are. So Windows has fibers that I don't really. They're sort of similar somehow.
yeah.
But coroutines are completely in user land. They're just your own program. They're not to do with the operating system at all. But anyway, so the idea is they're meant to be fast. And when I was giving this talk, I was kind of concentrating on the idea of, this is it was in, someone had a library for it in Turbo Pascal 7.
Similar since 1977.
I was concentrating on the idea because it's not threaded, it's not multi-threaded, it's single-threaded. You're just jumping around between executions. Like if you do user interface stuff from a different thread, you've got to synchronize those changes back into the main thread. Whereas with this, you can just go wherever you want, and wherever you are, you can do whatever you want to the user interface because you're in the main thread. Now, I don't know if that's really how they're normally used, because I guess you would probably start a second thread and then have all your coroutines, maybe like for networking or something in this other thread, but anyway. I'm still learning. This is a can you zoom that one? Yeah. Oh. Let me, there we go. You know, drag it. There we go. This is a Pascal, no, Python. A Python generator. So okay. So you start here like I equals 0, and then you're going to loop. And then you get to here, I squared, 0 squared is 0. And you return that out of the function. So you're out of the function right here where the yield is. And then when you come back to this function, then you drop down here to the +1 and back to the loop and down here. And now I is equal to 1, so I squared is 1. So you send that out of the function. And this is kind of weird, right? It's like, this is not how we think of functions.
Oh, that's true.
But if you...
So that actually returns multiple times over.
So this is like an infinite list, really. It represents an infinite list of squares.
Yeah.
It just, you're going to call it, every single time you call it, it'll give you another one. And that's, I guess, the simplest type of routine, I suppose.
Yeah, it's kind of obvious when you look at it now, you can see the benefit of reading.
Well, I'm sure, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I've looked at exactly this code and completely did not get it for over a year, right? It's like it's not sinking in, and
I mean, that yield is kind of like a return, except it's not actually a return.
well, it is. I mean,
It's a return and then it continues.
yeah, it's a return with special conditions.
So is that, so can we do that in Delphi? Basically that. Aha.
So I got to this point, and I think it was like January, and I kind of reached my I'd kind of reached my level of like what I understood, and then someone popped up with this on Twitter. I think I'm gonna have to. Kind of worked last time. There we go. I think you can zoom out.
Got Zoom working, okay?
Yeah, I think so. You can probably go back. So this is written in C. And so you've got normal variables up here, integer, stop, step. You declare an enumerated type and then a variable of that type. So this is just normal variables. This is a constructor. So this is like a record, this struct.
Yeah.
Oh, did I? Okay, that's interesting. So this is just the constructor. It just you give it a couple of numbers and it sets up the variables. So this is where the work gets done. Resume, and it's got a. I mean, if you look at this bit, it kind of looks like normal code, but then you've got this bit, and you're like, hang on a second. So if we go to the next page. Oops. So looking at the little inside bit, you've got a loop. And so you start with the state being like beginning or whatever, then you immediately change it to we are looping. And then you return, right? Well, if that return wasn't there, this would look like normal code. You're like, just set a variable, we increase the variable, we go around the loop, and then we're done, right? There'd be nothing really here to think about. But this switch statement acts basically like a bunch of go-tos And so depending on the enum, you're at the start, you jump to here, the beginning of the loop. You guys ever hear about Duff's device? Duff's device.
Yes.
I think I heard about it in like 20 years ago or something. It's a C switch statement that will like add up, like increment 137 times or something. Like if it runs through once, that's 8 times. But it's this twisted logic like this. And yeah, it's something I saw a million years ago and didn't mean anything to me then. So when you've changed the state here and jumped out of the function, then when you come back, you get to the switch statement, you come down to in loop, and then you jump into the middle of this loop and keep going.
Oh, yes. Oh, that is cool.
That's like,
Oh, that is neat. Can't do that in Delphi.
can't you?
Oh,
Because like I looked at this and then I was like, oh, that's weird. And then I was like, I mean, we have GoTo in Delphi technically.
okay, so with the go-to, yes. Oh, you can.
Oh, you can.
What about the user go?
And it looks beautiful. I mean, in my opinion, in Delphi. We've got okay.
There.
So we've got a record.
Got the delta.
Pardon?
Is it a delta sign?
We can have Unicode.
Sorry?
We can use underscore as a variable name.
Yes, but that's a,
We can use Unicode.
okay,
Yeah.
lambda, sorry, yes, okay.
When the talk was being broadcast and it got to that point, Ian was like, now I have to kill you. I was like, this is one big stir from one end to the other. So we've got a enumerated type, which looks excellent in Delphi, and then we've got our variables, and then we've got our, we're declaring that we have a function and a constructor. And then the constructor is simple because we just, assign all the things. Just bang, 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 bang. And all the everything is in here. And so when you come into the function, you've got this case statement and these go-tos. And is this me or is this the?
In fact, you can simplify that because you don't even need the alpha one.
That's you doing the zooming stuff.
Zoomed right out.
Yeah, you can simplify that because you can drop the whole that's the alpha because
Hang on, what are we doing right?
what's that?
Dog.
They're labels. They're labels.
Such a go-to labels.
Oh, you have to declare them. You have to declare them at the, oh yeah, just up a bit. In the function, we declare label.
Label.
Look, labels. I was having so much fun doing this. I was like blowing my own mind.
Yeah, you would. Jeepers, that is.
Is that how you do it? I've never done it, Joseph. Is that how you do it?
I haven't done one for like 20 years.
I mean, you can't do a go-to just anywhere. It has to be within that function.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit sanitized.
Yeah.
And
Well,
it's
as long as that function is from the outside, stable, you do what you like inside.
and yeah, it does the same thing. It's like you come in with I equal to 0 or whatever.
So what are you labeled? Alpha, beta, gamma? Is that what that?
Yeah, just Greek letters. I was being
You've heard we've got one of our own, right? Like some kind of a
Those are
alphabetical list of characters with an English.
Will come on the Roman alphabet,
Cheers.
too newfangled, you know, we've only had it for, what, 20 years? Yeah.
I was stirring and it works exactly the same way as the other one. And I guess a side benefit is that you can declare like each of the, like this is one of those structs initialized with these functions, but then you've got a different variable, which is one of these structs declared with different initialized whatever. And you can call them like, and they work independently. I should get a photo of the look that it's giving me.
Oh, oh,
So they work independently, so when you say. For I equals, yeah, so you're gonna do those
Yeah.
5 times.
It just came out like basic. The first one's counting
Yeah,
1,
yeah.
3, 5, 7, 9, and the other one's counting 2, 4, 6, 8, 10.
What is it? Are you only declaring the labels so you can do a forward declaration and jump to it? So the label
It's
is
for the jump. But the weird thing is we're jumping into the middle of a loop. Right?
Yeah,
That's wild. That's crazy.
yeah, that we were told even back like 30 years ago, you
Like-
don't do, never. But what about?
If there was somewhere to deport me, they'd deport me, but no one will take me. So
That's neat, I like that, I hadn't thought about that, because
Oh.
we just got so used to not doing it.
I'm keeping a very open mind here because you have some big deep creds right now, just because of the Greek characters. I'm giving you a lot of leeway here.
so
You should go to it, but I'm also like, you know, see what you're doing.
the final thing,
It makes sense.
I talked about some other stuff. I said, like, I'm into, like, I called those things. So like a function with a record around it, which keeps some data, like
Yeah,
I called it a fortified function. Right. Because, but then when I think about it, it's like, but then classes are data and functions. But then this is on the stack and that classes are on the
yeah,
heap.
they end up being a bit different, they do, yeah.
It's like, I don't know, I feel like maybe there's something there, I don't know, but
I mean, you could turn it into a class, but then you have to instantiate it every time, but you don't want to do that, you just want to say, here it is. With the, you know, just have it on the stack while you're using it and then you drop it, and that makes sense.
so I had in my head the idea of Conway's Game of Life. And like maybe because of the user interface idea, but then I couldn't get started like creating Game of Life from scratch, and I went to ChatGPT eventually, and it may be like a VCL and an FMX version that needed some work, but you know, it was a good start. And so this, no, not this one. Original. Okay, so this is the original one, just running Game of Life like you normally think of it.
So then each box, is that one of those record instances, like an instance of a game of one of those fortified functions?
Well, this is just normal when you take the whole matrix and then, you know, go through the whole matrix and update. But like you're saying, what I wanted to try was to make, so not really a coroutine exactly, but I made an anonymous function for every single cell.
Yeah.
And when they were initialized, so I picked like top 1, 2, 3, 4 corners and told it, you know, where it would be looking, because obviously it's not looking outside, and then the top row and the
Yeah.
and told them all where to look And so when the anonymous function was initialized, everything's a constant already about where it's looking. It's easier to see in the code, but anyway, so this is how it runs. Normal Pascal basically, and this is the one where there's 2,500 like individual functions with the responsibility for one square each, just running one after the other. And if you look in task manager, one of them takes up 1.6 megabytes and the other one takes up 1.8 megabytes. So
Which one takes up more than one of the coroutines?
this one takes up slightly more.
Yeah, it's one of the coroutines.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, for what it's worth, oh, and the last thing that I just found out in the last couple of days is that Dave Abrams, who was big in creating the C++ boost libraries, and then in the C++ ecosystem until he got pissed off with it, and then created Swift, or helped create Swift for Apple, and now is creating another language called, they were going to call it Val, but there were issues, so they're calling it Hilo. It's meant to be a value-oriented programming language. And somehow, I don't know, but coroutines are like fundamentally in there to provide the same sort of safety as Rust lifetimes. Rust variable lifetimes.
We got about 5 minutes until 8:30.
I'm done.
That's still
So we're,
yeah.
Well, Cogno's going to what? It's very interesting, and I've seen one creator that had a sort of like a butt, sort of like for some decks and cabins and stuff, and it would float along. It was huge, though. It had hundreds of dots. Yeah.
It would like a 3-dimensional game of that.
yep, I was just thinking about that. I've never thought of that before. I bet if we Googled it, we'd find someone's already done it. Anyway, so done.
Thank you for all that. It's a lot of content. So where do we think we're going to go with meetings? You want to hold one of these every couple of months, or we're going to monthlies? What do you do?
Maybe I'll connect up with Dave and visit him and see what that's like.
The sound in this is now better. I think the more people you get, it actually.
And he made a good point about no carpet.
Yeah.
And
The more people means it's the echo is getting people instead of hitting the room and the floor.
I was listening from time to time to what the Zoom audio sounded like. And
We're at.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yep.
Right done. Scott. Oh, okay. Interesting. Yeah, okay, we'll see where we go next month. Guys, we need presenters. We've had kind of a self-report doing a lot of things. We need other people chipping in and talking about any topics. So keep that in mind. Just call a message. Yeah.
yeah.
Right. We need to wrap up. They're going to kick us out of here in a few minutes.
Is that SMS?
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody online.
Sorry, are you on WhatsApp? Yeah.
Have we got any questions from anyone that's online? You need to unmute your mic if you want to say something.
Yeah, sorry guys. I hope you had okay audio.
Yeah, much better. I remember when I first walked in the room and it just sounded so echoing, and the second person there, and it was, oh my God, it's getting worse. Third person worse. Now we've had all of us sitting around, it's actually nowhere near as bad as when it was just 2 or 3 people.
You know that the people, the town,
Yeah,
skirts and things, more people that see. Yeah,